is it possible to be satisfied with the chapter, but also think it's underwhelming? Because that's kind of how I feel after this chapter, after reading this chapter. Because right from the jump, I have to say, for as much as I love a good beatdown, Killer, my dude, if this is not the end of your fight, if this is not the end of you, then get your ass in gear. Because this is actually getting a little bit pathetic with how much Hermit is tossing you around. Which, again, don't get me wrong, I'm all for it, but at the same time, I still expected more from him being one of the Dark Stars, and right now he's just looking like the weak. At best, he's looking like the weakest fucking link in that chain. And granted, I will say, Mashima did make it a point in this chapter to note through Hermit that the reason she is like thinking several steps ahead of him and basically shutting him down at every turn is because she pretty much did study his fight with Weiss. But I don't know, it's also one of those things where I'm hoping there's more to the fight than what we got, because I am liking what I'm seeing, and it's so satisfying in order to see Killer like just get the smackdown he deserves, and because of how much of a piece of shit he is, and in my opinion, it is the most badass Hermit has been in the series up to this point. But again, by that same token, the fight itself is kind of underwhelming, and just how one-sided the fight is as you're like, it's one of those things where I think your expectations are gonna naturally expect more from a group designed to kill the Starshines, no matter how much information the latter ends up gathering on how to fight them. But and although everything I'm saying kind of depends on where Mashima takes things from here, it has me a little concerned how Ivory's fight with Clown will play out. Like he almost kind of has to do something a little different and a lot more with that fight, given Clown's ability to manipulate matter. But it's like, I don't know, like as of right now, it's like just from the whole fight with Hermit and Killer is so one-sided. I'm like, dude, so are you just not gonna fight back? Are you not gonna do overdrive? Are you not gonna just, like, is that really all you got, dude? Like, I'm sorry, that's just kind of where my mind is right now. Like, I don't hate this fight, but it's just, is that all we're gonna get from the Killer? Like, really? But I don't know. It is what it is. And I guess just to be fair, though, even though one thing I did consistently like about this fight is being shown just how calm and level-headed Hermit was acting throughout, showing just how much she has genuinely matured over the time skip. It's just, yeah, I don't know, something about just the way it was, I don't know, just something about seeing it happen in the way it's portrayed here just feels, really, Killer? That just, again, I go back to what I said before, really, Killer? That's all you got? Like, I don't know. I'll wait and see where Mashima takes from here, but I'm not really impressed with Killer during this fight. Now, from there, we cut to Shiki and Weiss, where we learn Weiss is about to remodel the current reality they're in, as he puts it, and like and honestly, if this becomes something he can use, and assuming they make it back to the ship before the battles are over, it would be pretty cool in order to see Weiss use Killer's own reality warping against him to, I guess, trap Clown or something. But in order to help in some way, whether it's trap Clown and Killer or whatever he uses it for. But even more than that, if what Weiss says he can do is true, then that also gives us a means to save Rebecca as well. And actually, if that is the case, then that could give Ivory a huge advantage over Clown, assuming he tries to pull that kind of fuckery of using Rebecca as a means to control the flow of the battle against Ivory. But take Rebecca out of the equation, and Clown has got one less thing to use against Ivory. And just in general, I I'm like curious of what kind of possibilities Mashman plans to take advantage of with this setup, because Weiss manipulating reality is both epic and scary all at once, and just it seems like the possibilities of what it can do with this are kind of endless. One thing I also wonder about though now with this setup is how much Mashman is actually going to fall through and lean into the whole idea that Weiss's mother is just an illusion, or if that's Weiss trying to trick himself into thinking that, because if we find out ultimately that he really that Weiss's mother in that tank is real and he really did leave his mother behind, then that's definitely a very dark twist on the trope of moving on from your past. Like, if it's one thing to pretty much know that your mother is that the mother you think is alive is an illusion. But if we come to find out that he tries to warp reality and finds out he left his mother behind, that's definitely a little twisted. Like I said, I'll be curious to see which route Majima goes with this. If he just goes the route of having like Weiss's mother be an illusion, or if you find out that she was real the whole time. Like, if he goes the latter route, I'll be kind of impressed with how I'll be even more impressed, honestly, just with how twisted he made that whole trope of moving on. With all that being said, one thing that did stick out with me, and I'm kind of repeating stuff over. I guess I'm repeating myself again here, but one thing that did stick out with me is kind of iffy with this chapter is how short this chapter felt. I mean, it is kind of a common occurrence at this point for the series to feel like a chapter is ending a little too soon, but yeah, I mean, and with it being mostly focused on Hermit versus Killer, it kind of does. It is gonna expect to feel that way when it's so focused on a fight. But the way the chapter ended felt like there was one more page of something we were supposed to see. But just kind of cuts off at the assumed ending to Hermit's fight. But again, maybe it's also just that I've kind of been conditioned to expect a major reveal at the end of a manga chapter. So when it doesn't, it just feels empty without it. In fact, taking this is actually, taking it as a whole, this is actually a weird chapter in the sense where it feels like the portion of the chapter that we got with Ivory and Clown, it felt like that should have been at the end of the chapter rather than at the midpoint of it. But like, I guess Mishima did want to drive home just how much it is thanks to Weiss that Hermit's supposed victory was even possible, which in itself shows just how much the particular bond has grown. But yeah, the whole pacing and page constriction are the things that felt the most inconsistent with this chapter, and just feels like it ended sooner than it should have. But I guess that's also been, again, that has kind of been a common occurrence for a lot of series for a while now, so I guess I can't get too hung up on it. But with that said, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyze Crunchyroll. Be sure to hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Me, signing off. Later, everyone.